framing the make. Fire of ignorance is destroyed. Vedas scriptures sing of his character. Our spiritual master is the ocean of mercy. The friend of the poor and the Lord and master of the devotees. Give us the shade of your lotus feet. Your fame is spread all over the three worlds. We take shelter of your lotus feet. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Sri Guru Charana Padama Kevala Bhakti Sadama. Sri Guru Charana Padama Kevala Bhakti Sadama. Bandhamui Savadana Mate Bandhamui Savadana Mate Yara prasade bhai bhavaturiya. Yara prasade bhai bhavaturiya. Krishna prapti hoy jaha hote. Krishna prapti hoy jaha hote. Guru mukha padama vakya itete koriyakya. Guru mukha padama vakya itete koriyakya. Arna kariha mane asha. Arna kariha mane asha. Sri Guru Charane Rati Esa Uttama Gati. Sri Guru Charane Rati Esa Uttama Gati. Ye prasada pure sarva acha. ye prasada pure sarva acha Rakudana diloye janme janme prabhu se Rakudana diloye janme janme prabhu se Yavyagan hriday prokachita Yavyagan hriday prokachita Prema bhakti jate vidya vinaso jate Prema bhakti jate vidya vinaso jate Hare Gaya Hare Churita Hare Gaya Hare Churita Guru Karuna Sindhu Adhama Janara Bandhu Guru Karuna Sindhu Adhama Janara Bandhu Lokanath Lokara Jivana Lokanath Lokara Jivana Ha ha Prabhu Karada Deho More Bharachaya Ha ha Prabhu Karada Deho More Bharachaya Ebe Jas Gushukri Bhuvana Ebe Jas Gushukri Bhuvana Aha Prabhu Karadaya Deha Mori Parachaya Aha Prabhu Karadaya Deha Mori Parachaya Prabhu Karadaya Deho More Bharachaya Prabhu Karadaya Deho More Bharachaya Ebe Jas Gushukri Bhuvana Srila Prabhupada Gotita Pavana Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya, Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Namah Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Krishna Pristaya Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvichecha Shunyavadi Paschatyarishutarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaura Bhakta-vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaura Bhakta-vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaura Bhakta-vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaura Bhakta-vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaura Bhakta-vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaura Bhakta-vrinda Gaura Bhakta-vrinda Gaura Bhakta-vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Nita Goranga, Nita Goranga, Nita Goranga, Nita Goranga, Nita Goranga, Gora Hare, Nita Goranga, Gora Hare, Nita Goranga, Gora Hare, Hey, Nita Goranga, Gora Hare, Nita Goranga, Gora Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Radha, Sham Sundara, Hare. Jaya Krishna Balaram, Krishna Balaram, Krishna Balaram, Jaya Krishna Balaram. Jaya Gauranita, 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 Jaya Gauranita. Jaya Gauranita, 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 Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Nitya Gaura Hare Bha, Hare Bha, Gaura Hare Bha. Nitya Gaura Hare Bha, Hare Bha, Hare Bha, Gaura Hare Bha. Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hare Hare Bal. Jaya Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivraj Kacharya Ashtottarastu Shri Maresi Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jaya Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivraj Kacharya Ashtottarastu Shri Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासारि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंद राधा कुंद गिरि गोवर्धन की जय। श्री वृंदावन धाम की जय, मायापुर धाम की जय, जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय, नूरमनवेती धाम की जय, तुलसी महारानी की जय, भक्ति देवी की जय, यमुना माई की जय, गंगा माई की जय। श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय। निताय गौ प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। समवेता भक्त वृंद की जय। Grace to the assembled devotee. Grace to the assembled devotee. Grace to the assembled devotee. Grace to Sri Sri Guru Gauranga.
Hare Krishna. So this is from, let's see, it's from the book distribution Google group. And it was written by Achyuta Priyadas, who's the regional secretary for Ukraine. This year, the Prabhupada December Marathon in Ukraine was quite unusual, with people really damaged by the news of the war on the eastern side of the country. There were various series of drafts of many thousands to the army. There was mourning for war victims and acts of terrorism. It was doubly unusual because due to the war, the whole country suffered from heavy depression, with the local currency rate falling against the dollar from 8 to 22. People complained about the lack of money and unemployment. Besides that, due to the political situation, Sankirtan devotees lost Crimea and east of Ukraine as a kshetra for book distribution. Still, when I saw the World Sankirtan scores for the marathon, I could not believe my eyes. Ukraine was number 5 in the world with 52,897 book points. We never expected that. In my attempts to find material proof for the success, I tried to examine, and I found some arguments, like 565 devotees participating in the marathon, but this so-called argument in itself also contradicts logic. How is it possible that so many devotees took part in the marathon in a country where so many devotees are displaced, had to flee from dangerous areas, have had their homes destroyed and their lives disturbed? They lost jobs and businesses, and many lost pensions. Ultimately, it became clear that Srila Prabhupada's and Lord Chaitanya's causeless mercy has to be counted as the most powerful argument and cause in evaluating results. As our saying goes, there are no atheists in the trenches. People around, and we ourselves, are becoming more receptive and serious in situations like war. What would we do? Where would we find shelter in a world which is always burning in a war of passion and ignorance, if not Srila Prabhupada and his always relevant books? Using this opportunity, we want to express our deep gratitude to the international community of ISKCON for prayers, support, and encouragement in this mission. Very nice. That's from Achyuta Priyadas, Regional Secretary for the Ukraine. So I found that really inspiring and pretty amazing, and makes you think of the devotees there too. So this Sunday is the appearance of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, so we have a festival at the temple. In the morning, we'll do the Pushpanjali. That's like at the Guru Puja time, because so many people won't be here at noontime. And then we come again, of course, 4:15 for our program. Kalakanta Prabhu will give the class. And on that day, we will also see the trailer for the Acharya movie, in case anyone missed it on last Sunday. Regat Mika gave me these very nice quotes of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, so I'll read a few each day up into his appearance day. Here are 5 for today. He said, "We are put to test and trial in this world. Only those who attend the Kirtan of the devotees can succeed. Every spot on earth where discourses on God are held is a place of pilgrimage. Possession of objects not related to Krishna is our main malady. Let me not desire anything but the highest good for my worst enemies. As dalliance with the body in luxury increases, so wanes the spirit of service of the Lord." Jai Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur ki jai. These are the devotees who assisted their spiritual master dressing the deities today. Shri Shri Radha Sham Sundar Nitai Priya Prabhu, Chota Radha Sham Sundar Guru Prasad Prabhu, Shri Shri Krishna Balaram Jai Gauri Prabhu, Chota Krishna Balaram Madhuri Gopi Prabhu, Shri Shri Gaurnitai Devaki Prabhu, Chota Gaurnitai Gandharvika Prabhu, Guru Sundar Nishringadev, Krishna Kripa Moya Prabhu, and Madan Mohan is giving class today. Thank you for helping with the green beans. And I just want to say, I saw Radesh in Kirtan. I always feel happy when I see him come to the Kirtan and play the mridanga. And I don't want to embarrass him, but I feel like I have to give him some glory, because he has washed the pots at this temple 6 days a week for over a year. And how long has it been? 2 years? It's been a long time. Every day for six days a week. So this is very exceptional. I never have a pot washer last this long, and he's incredibly good at it too. So it's Radesh Prabhu. Radesh. Do you know Radesh? He's from Azerbaijan. Indaduna Swami disciple, and he's been here for a while. But you don't see him during the day, but you see him at night in the kitchen washing the pots. Hare Krishna.
Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Manachari Jamuna Tira Manachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada. Prabhupada, 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 Jai Prabhupada. Prabhupada, Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajaka Charja Stotara Sata Shri Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Gaur Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Namo
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
So today's reading is from Canto 6, text number 16 through 21. Please. Vaitad Vigyaya Ya Dirgha Samikshaya Ritavayam Gunairhina Bhikshu Bhishlagita Mudha Vaidarbhetad Avigyaya Tvaya Dirgha Samikshaya Vritavayam Gunairhina Bhikshu Bhishlagita Mudha Vaidarbhetad Avigyaya Tvaya Dirgha Samikshaya Vritavayam Gunairhina Bhikshu Bhishlagita Mudha. Ladies? Word for word. Vaidarbhi, O Princess of Vidarbha. Etat, this. Avigyaya, not knowing. Tvaya, by you. Adirgha Samikshaya, without long-range vision. Vritaha, chosen. Vayam, we. Gunai, of good qualities. Hina, devoid. Bhikshu bhihi, by beggars. Shlaghita, praised. Mudha, out of their bewilderment. So we can all read the other ones together. Athatmano nurupam vai bhajasva kshatriyarshambham yena tvam ashisha satya iha mutra chalapsyase. Chaidya Shalva Jarasandha Dantavakradayo Nripa Mama Dvishanti Vamoru Rukmi Chapi Tavagraja Tesham Virya Madananam Driptanam Smayanuttaye Anitasi Maya Bhadre Tejopaharata Satam. 2 more to go. Udasina Vayam Nunam Nastrya Patyartaka Mukha Atma Labhyashmaye Purna Gihayor Jyotirakriya Sri Shukavacha Etavaduktva Bhagavan Atmanam Vallabham Manyamanam Avishleshat Taddarpagna Uparamat. And over to Mother Mohan Prabhu.
Jai. Verse 16, translation. Ovedar Darbi. Not being farsighted, you didn't realize this, and therefore you chose us as your husband, even though we have no good qualities and are glorified only by deluded beggars. So if we remember, this is Krishna saying all these words to Rukmini, and Krishna was teasing her, but at this point, Rukmini didn't know that. So here's the rest of what Krishna was saying. Text 17. Now you should definitely accept a more suitable husband, a first-class man of the royal order who can help you achieve everything you want, both in this life and the next. And there's the purport. Lord Krishna continues to tease his beautiful wife, trying to provoke her loving anger. So, of course, we're going to go to text 18, but one little comment in between there is how amazing this is, and this will actually be kind of a theme that I'm going to be covering, that Krishna, the Supreme Lord, teases. I mean, we're in the 10th canto now, so we just kind of understand that and accept it. But no one else in the world could understand this, and that's very special for us to consider. Okay, so text 18. Kings like Shushupal, Salva, Jarasandha, Dantavakra all hate me. O beautiful thighed one. And so does your elder brother Rukmi. 19. It was to dispel the ignorant arrogance of these kings that I carried you away, my good woman, for they were blinded by the intoxication of power. My purpose was to curb the strength of the wicked. Text 20. We care nothing for wives, children, and wealth, always satisfied within ourselves. We do not work for body and home, but like a light, we merely witness. Text 21. Sukadeva Goswami said, Rukmini had thought herself especially beloved by the Lord because he never left her company. By saying these things to her, he vanquished her pride, and then he stopped speaking. Om Ajnana Timirandasyanjana Jana Salakaya Chaksumritanyena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Jayatam Surito Pangor Mamamanda Matirkati Matsarvasva Patam Bojo Radha Madana Mohano. So, of course, devotees, they're truthful. So, whatever Krishna says, they understand it's truth. There's no truth superior to Krishna. So, no matter what Krishna is saying here, just like we have experience from the Bhagavatam that it says goddess of learning Saraswati, she turns around all the meanings to get it to be a positive. Whenever someone says anything negative about Krishna, they actually are glorifying Krishna. So it's just the nature of devotees. They have aversion to fault-finding, and they are always seeing the good in others, and they're always thinking truthfully. So, oh yes, that's the position. So she's also has that nature. But here we have Krishna joking with her. So I was thinking of how this is possible that we understand this. Because generally, when you think of God, before you met Prabhupada in his teachings, one couldn't conceive that he could joke. Because just for joking, one needs to have affection. If you joke with someone who doesn't have affection for you, what'll happen? They'll misunderstand everything you're saying. And the more affection someone has, then whatever you say, the affection overrides it. So I was thinking from the 4th chapter of the Adi Lila, which is an explanation of a couple verses. One of my favorite verses is text 6, Shri Radhaya Pranaya Mahima. So that this translation to this verse is, this is what Krishna was thinking before he came as Lord Chaitanya. He says, desiring to understand the glories of Radharani's love, the wonderful qualities in him that she alone relishes through her love, and the happiness she feels when she realizes the sweetness of his love, the Supreme Lord Hare, richly endowed with her emotions, appeared from the womb of Srimati Sachi Devi as the moon appears from the ocean. So there was 3 different points there, and this is Krishna, how he's coming as Lord Chaitanya. So usually Krishna's on the outside, and he has Radharani on the inside. He's always thinking of Radharani. But as he comes as Lord Chaitanya, Krishna's on the inside and Radharani's on the outside. His color changed, his emotions changed, because he's coated with her emotions. So, by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya only, and of course Nityananda and Prabhupada, that we're able to understand Krishna. How to understand Krishna. This is, and our relationship with Krishna. This is the whole sum and substance of our sambandhas, knowing our relationship. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, never there was a time you didn't exist. So he sets that up, and then he says, see for yourself. Dehi knows minyata dehe. He says, you're changing bodies right now. You had a little body, you had another body, you have another. So it starts off with that, and then it's just that you don't know the relationship to how to correctly relate to Krishna. So Lord Chaitanya, Krishna, appears in the mood of Radharani to show us how to approach Krishna, to show us what it means to be a devotee. So these elements, these are also for us too, to understand, desiring to understand the glories of Radharani's love, the wonderful qualities in him that she alone relishes. How she relishes it? Through her love. So the qualities of Krishna, wonderful qualities. Krishna has wonderful qualities. And how do you relish those qualities? You relish those qualities by love. So we're developing love for Krishna. That's what the whole sadhana, our devotional service is about. And as we develop that, we start to relish his qualities, names, forms, pastimes. And what else does it say? The happiness she feels. So when does she feel happiness? What it says? When she realizes. What does she realize? What's she realizing? the sweetness of his love. So it's sweet. In this world, there's practically nothing sweet, or at least in the mode of passion, it seems like it's going to be sweet, but then the aftertaste is poison. So it's not really sweet. And in the mode of ignorance, it's just always bitter. So I was going to jump to the 4th chapter, which is the explanation. The whole chapter is explaining verse 5 and 6. So I'm going to start at, it looks like text 16. It says, the Lord's desire to appear was born from 2 reasons. This is one for Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Leela, chapter 4, text 16. He wanted to taste. We just hear Sri Ravija. We always want to taste. Avarujite, ashnute, taste, ashnute. That is taste. And Krishna uses, ashnute, tasting is mentioned quite a few places. Param Jisa Navardante. Then there's also the taste of 13:13, a taste of eternality, of understanding your subordinate spirit's soul. And then there's the taste of immortality, which is when you understand what is nescience and what is knowledge side by side. One transcends the influence of repeated birth and death and enjoys the full taste of immortality. Same word, ashnute. So here we're talking about the Lord's desire to appear was born from 2 reasons. He wanted to taste the sweet essence of the mellows of love of Godhead. So that's what he's teaching. He came to show by example how to do that. He wanted to propagate devotional service to the world in the world on the platform of spontaneous attraction. Thus he is known as supremely jubilant and as the most merciful of all. So that's the line that we're in. That's whose mercy we're here, and this is what we're learning. We're propagating spontaneous attraction by service, doing devotional service, Shravanam, Kirtanam, street Sankirtan, book distribution. All these are the practices. And if you've noticed during a Kirtan, practically if you look around, anybody's in the Kirtan, you won't see anyone who's not smiling. Lord Chaitanya says, I'll give you a taste of the full nectar for which you're always anxious. Param vijayate, Sri Krishna. Kevala anandakan, shushukam. Simply a joyful process. So here's his explanation following that for the next verse is 17. All the universe is filled with the conception of my majesty, but love weakened by that sense of majesty does not satisfy me. So how intimate this Lord Chaitanya's program is. He says, all right, so the whole world's filled with awe and veneration, and that's really speaking in a way that people that are religiously inclined, they understand that, you put on your Sunday best. There was always great respect for going to the church if you are sure anything. Everybody used to dress in suits and ties and put on their Sunday best, at least when I was growing up. And it was always filled with it was very heavy duty. You did something wrong, it was grave consequences. I guess we could make a word out of, a pun out of grave. But anyway, so grave consequences. All right, so then we have text 18, where Lord Chaitanya, he just said that this love weakens, this awe and veneration, this majesty weakens him. So then he said, but if one regards me as the Supreme Lord and himself as a subordinate, I do not become subservient to his love, nor can it control me. So how amazing is this to hear? God is speaking himself through the emotions of Radharani, who knows what pleases Krishna. And here's Krishna himself taking on those emotions to tell us. How are we going to know unless someone tells us? And here he is telling us this. So we're learning about his personality, which is what the purpose of life is. So then, text 19. In whatever transcendental mellow my devotee worships me, I reciprocate with him. That is my natural behavior. So the purport to that is, the Lord, by his inherent nature, reveals himself before his devotee according to their inherent devotional service. In Vrindavan pastimes demonstrate that although generally people worship God with reverence, the Lord is more pleased when a devotee thinks of him as his pet son, his personal friend, or his most dear fiancé, and renders service to him in such a natural affection. The Lord becomes a subordinate object of love in such transcendental relationships. Such pure love of Godhead is unadulterated by any tinge of superfluous, non-devotional desires, and is not mixed with any sort of fruit of action or empiric philosophical speculation. It is the pure and natural love of God, spontaneously aroused in the absolute stage. This devotional service is executed in a favorable atmosphere freed from material affection. So we can see Prabhupada was paraphrasing that verse from the Bhakti Rasmarita Sindhu 1:11, Sunyam Gyan. So he was paraphrasing that there. So of course when it mentions any tinge of fruitive intention, one, as his knowledge increases and understanding what is the material world, how fruitive activities work, how the Bali conception of life works, he realizes every material desire that you get comes with a body. You don't have a material desire without a material body. So every material desire you think of, you're going to get a material body. So you can't really separate material desires and getting another body. It's called karma, that activity that produces another material body, and desires are the seeds that produce the karma to produce material desires. So imagine when you start thinking, you can understand every material desire that you're inclined to follow, you're going to get a body for. And there's 8,400,000 species, in case your desires aren't best suited for the human form of life, you get one of those. And then within each one of those species of life, how many different varieties of the species there are too. So when one sees that, that's an alarming thing to understand. And you only get that at a certain point. Krishna gives you a little bit at a time. But at a certain point you see that and you think, that's not an intelligent way to go. Eternal bliss in life, eternal blissful life of perfect knowledge, material body, eternal blissful life, material body. So after you go back and forth, you say, suffering, 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 ananda. Okay. Anyway. So, and then the next verse we're all familiar with. In whatever way my devotee surrenders unto me, I reward him accordingly. Everyone follows my path in all respects. So, of course, in one way, there's many different ways, but one way to see my path in all respect is desire. You know, you're following your desire, but you're following it improperly. You're thinking that it'll make you happy. Desires to make you happy. So we need to have that put into perspective of absolute knowledge. So then text 21 and 22, If one cherishes pure loving devotion to me, thinking of me as his son, his friend, or his beloved, I regard him as great and regarding himself as great and considering me as equal or inferior, I become subordinate to him. Maybe I'll read that again. Imagine this. This is what Krishna is saying to us, that this is what he wants from us, but you can't get it wrong. You got to get it right. Because we're in the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. We've already went through 9 cantos, Bhagavad Gita, Chaitanya, the Sri Upanishad, all the small books, listening to lectures over and over again, and I'm reading from the Chaitanya Charitamrita. So I'm putting it so we're getting a perspective here. All right, so I'm going to read that one again, 21 and 22 again. If one cherishes pure loving devotion to me, thinking of me as his son, his friend, or his beloved, regarding himself as great and considering me his equal or inferior, I become subordinate to him. Okay, but also we're hearing how Rukmini was feeling a little proud. So Krishna teased her. So such a personal exchange is taking place here between the understanding of, from self-realization. Prabhupada explains a few different places. Sometimes I do query studies through the Veda base. So if you put in self-realization, Prabhupada sometimes gives such simple explanations. He says, acknowledging that you're subordinate to Krishna. That's self-realized. Because what is the self? Bhagavad Gita 8.3, the eternal nature is called the self. So what is the eternal nature? Service. That's our eternal nature. Nitya Siddha Krishna Prem, loving service to Krishna. So we realize that, but we realize it almost immediately in devotional service. But it takes time to become steady. The Nishta platform comes after. It says Nishta is defined by Prabhupada in that verse. Doshraddha Sadhusanga is steadiness in self-realization. So you become steady after you're free from the unwanted things, unnecessary things. You don't need these things. Not required. Prabhupada would use words like not required. It's not required. It's kind of funny. We regard the anarthas as such a major disturbance, and he says it's not required. So, Nitya Siddha Krishna. So these bodies, we get one right after another. Each material desire gives us another body. I lost that one. Okay, so I'll read the purport to this. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, 3 kinds of devotional service are described, namely bhakti, ordinary devotional service, Shuddha bhakti, pure devotional service, and Vishuddha bhakti, mixed devotional service. When devotional service is executed with some material purpose, invoking fruitive activities, mental speculation, or mystic power, is called mixed, adulterated devotional service. Besides Bhakti Yoga, Bhagavad Gita also describes Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, and Dhyana Yoga. Yoga means linking with the Supreme, but it is possible only through devotion. Fruitive activities ending in devotional service, philosophical speculation ending in devotional service, and the practice of mysticism ending in devotional service are known respectively as Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, and Dhyana Yoga. But devotional service is adulterated by the 3 kinds of material activities. So in here I had this idea that keeps slipping out of my mind too quick. So I'll read a little bit more then. For those engaged in identifying with the body as the self. Okay. Does that include many people? almost everybody, right? You still identify. And we can see that when something happens to the body, we still identify. So, of course, in the Bhagavad Gita, there's many instructions on not identifying with it. You can mentally renounce it. You can understand not to act on the desires. But you need the higher taste. Okay, so it says, for those grossly engaged in identifying with the body as a self, pious activities or karma yoga is recommended. I remember what it was. Okay, the eighth offense. You know, the eighth offense is to consider the chanting of Hare Krishna as one of the auspicious ritualistic activities which are offered in the Vedas as fruit of activities, the karma kanda section. So, if one of the things a devotee does is he reflects on these 10 offenses till he can understand, till they open up. They're not just like a faxed copy, a picture of words. They have to be integrated into our understanding, into our psychic understanding of what this means. And for instance, a common way of committing that without particularly noticing is, I'm doing devotional service, so therefore I shouldn't get any more material reactions. Everything should just go really nice for me. Okay, so generally that's still considered in the bodily conception of life. When you're thinking things go really nice for me, it means I get what I want. So I'm doing devotional service, but I'm kind of hoping that everything else is going to smooth out really good for me. I'll get what I want. I won't have any more trauma or upset from different people or from different things in my life. My business will be successful. People will like me. I won't, different, you know how the threefold miseries work. So, but if you think about it, that has the element of still misidentification with the body, which, and then it's actually considered an offense. It's not just a misunderstanding. It goes against the bliss that you're usually get in devotional service. So that eighth offense is a really tricky one to notice how it's integrated into our identity. That if I do devotional service, then I shouldn't have any more problems. Isn't that sometimes you think, what do they say? It's, why me? I'm a nice, you know, I do some things okay. You know, so when something happens, it says their only solace is taking shelter of Krishna, that we have all the information given to us. It's just the integration of that is where it's important, how to integrate it. So you know how you have to get it to integrate? You know what it is? I think you quote that one, 1919. There it is. You're going to be famous for that one, for the 1919 propagator. It's such a nice verse where Krishna uses these material, we call them tests, quizzes, tests, stuff. We know the final exam. So he gives us these opportunities to practice. Just like, for instance, we know that in chapter 13, 8 through 12, there's a process of knowledge of 20 items. Humility, process, nonviolence, like that. And Prabhupada mentions that for tolerance and humility, that one has to practice these things. So that, how are you going to get good at it if you don't practice? Right? In anything that when you're doing training, you have to do something that's not natural for you. That's why you're being trained. And after you get trained, then it's like second nature. You can just do it. But you have to go through a training which is difficult, the learning curve, they call it. And generally, learning curves, you want to be smart, but generally it's called a steep learning curve. Some things, it takes you more time. And we have, in Kali Yuga, Manda, Sumanda, well, I was just going to take those two, Manda and Sumanda. not just Manda, but Sumanda, we're slow. We're not going to get it right away. So that means we're holding on to something that's burning us. And we let go and we think, maybe I'll try it again, see if it burns me the second time. And we get burnt the second time, and the third time, and the fourth time. So Manda also doesn't just mean slow, it also means bad. we're mudha. We're Krishna doesn't mix his words too much, but anyway, there they are. So it says one should be so practiced. So if you're considering every time you get to practice the process of knowledge, you're taking it as a fault in Krishna consciousness, then that's an offense. You have to actually see, just like you pointed out, that this is Krishna's mercy. Of course, we say Krishna's mercy sometimes. We don't particularly mean it. We just know that's the right thing to say. Like, I remember I used to ask, when my daughter was young, I'd ask her questions, and she'd always have the right answer. But she never did anything right. She always had the right answer when I asked her the questions. So we also had, she's okay, I'm just using that as an example, that I was stunned, how do you have the right answer but you don't do it? So we say Krishna's mercy, but we don't fully get how it's Krishna's mercy. We say it because that's the right thing to say, If I say anything else, I'll be in trouble. Okay, it's Krishna's mercy. Maybe we say that. If it's not, then we're really got the 8th offense, the 10th offense. We got a bunch of them, and we're going to become bewildered by those things because we're going against what's pleasing to Krishna, and we're learning what's pleasing to Krishna. So when these different things come up, all right, I'm going to take a shot at this one. Most of the things that come up are in relationships. That's always really a tough spot in this world. Relationships, there's a special code that they get that knows how to push your buttons. And the closer you get with somebody, the more they have this special code for pushing your buttons and getting you off kilter. So, because of my nature, when I was growing up, they had a show called Candid Camera. I don't know, anybody know that show? And they used to it was an entrapment show. They would set it all up, and just when you were losing it, they would come out and say, hey, we're just joking. Smile, you're on Candid Camera. So I noticed the same phenomena takes place, but I had to change one of the words. I called it, smile, you're on Candid Karma. Because it was an entrapment by the material energy to get you to execute your process of knowledge, to remember Krishna, know who's matter, what's spirit, and the controller of both. It was an entrapment by the material energy set up by Krishna, because now, 1919, because Krishna is getting your attention. He's using these different things for you to apply it. So you have to apply the knowledge when it comes up. And it will, because we're in the process of training, we're in the process of purification. And this world, Krishna, Prabhupada points out in that purport, it's so constituted, it's made that way. And of course, in the verses today, I was reading some verses here, which book is it? Oh, okay. Where Krishna, he's talking, I'll find it. Of course, Krishna, find a suitable husband like Sushipal. He says, we care nothing for our wives, children, and wealth, always satisfied within ourselves. We do not work for body, home, but like a light, we merely witness. So in Krishna consciousness, it's so important for, in household life specifically, that the husband and wife are equally engaged in Krishna service. If one is more advanced than the other, there's always going to be problems, because we can see from these verses, Krishna, he's playful and he's funny. I mean, he actually does things. I remember the first time I was reading in the Bhagavatam, third canto, chapter 2, Uddhava was remembering Krishna. It talks about Vasudeva, right after Krishna appeared in the prison. He was to take Krishna over to Mother Yasoda's house to switch the babies. So he's going, it was a rainy, stormy night, and he's going across the Jamuna River. Do you remember what happened when he was going across the Jamuna River? The river opened, and he had Seshanaga's umbrella. Besides that, it's only in the third canto. He dropped them in the river. He dropped Krishna in the river. Now, what happened to his time? His concept of time. Oops, I know he's around here someplace. What, you think he's in any anxiety at that particular moment? He dropped Krishna in the river. It's a storm, the river's wild, so how long did it take? If it took a second, that was like millions of years too long. How long did it take? Was he going to go back and say, I lost him? What? So then I noticed, this is who we're dealing with. This is Krishna. This is what he does with his devotees. Talk about teasing, talk about getting some kind of reaction. So if we're going to understand Krishna and we're going to deal with Krishna, this unconditional love, we have to see he's holding all the cards, and he's going to pull out what's in you. The next time it happens, and things will happen, if you can remember, smile your uncandid karma, you'll be able to get back in line and maybe get a laugh at it, because other than that, they got you. Well, of course, in that TV show, they used to put it up for the whole world to see. How embarrassing was that, So anyway, I always get like a little elbow in my internal subtle body and my ribs. I got you again. I'm easy, right? But we can see that Krishna even does this with Rukmini. And then Rukmini, of course, she's truthful. She turns everything around to glorification for Krishna. And then she gets to understand that, the more we understand about Krishna, we see that he's the life of the party. Brahma Sampradaya, he's the life of the party. Anyway, those are involved puns. But he's the life of everything. Like, for instance, we have Krishna and Balaram. So Krishna, he's by himself. He expands as Balaram, because there's things that Krishna, how many times do we want to do something, but we can't do it because of one reason or another? But in our mind, you think, I would like to have actually done it like this, but I was restricted, I controlled myself, so I didn't do it. But I would have liked to. So Krishna, he just expands and does it. It's still him. It's an expansion of his personality, and it's a whole person. Just like Prabhupada was asked once, can Krishna make a hill so heavy you can't lift it up? And Prabhupada said, yeah. And so then Prabhupada said, he'll say, Balaram, you lift it up. Because Balaram is Krishna, but he likes to show his strength. Right? Bala, Ram, the enjoyer. He enjoys lifting, doing things. And then we see when Lord Chaitanya came, he was a strict sannyasi. Well, we saw what he was like when he was young. He was very playful. He was always Nimai Pandit. He was having a lot of fun with his devotees then too, right? They would walk on the other side of the street. Who was it that he would always go up to him and argue with him, and they're saying, oh, maybe one day he'll become a Vaishnava and stop. Anyway, but then when he became a sannyas, he was very strict. So all the things that he wanted to do, but he's a sannyasi, what did he do? Lord Nityananda, he's the avadut. He did them all. So we can see how Krishna, he expands himself for his enjoyment. So we're also Krishna's separated expansions. And we're there to also, for his enjoyment. And that's how he enjoys too. It's a nice meditation. You have to, it takes a while to get that, but this is what we're learning about. We're learning about, maybe I'll read, maybe the next verse goes even more into this point. All right. So, in fact, just this morning we were commenting on, where is it? He's not here in clay. How incredible, wonderful the deities look. We were just, it was Maitreya. He was just saying how incredible the deities look. So I'm also responding with him, and I'm saying this is manifesting love that Prabhupada's instilled in us with hope and a couple other qualities. These are the exercise of intelligence, love, hope, devotion, all mixed together, and creativity to manifest such an incredible. This is the most beautiful manifestation that everybody can come up with. You can't make anything. If you could make it more beautiful, make the deities more beautiful, they would. And it's all coming from love, desire to please Prabhupada, assisting their spiritual master and dressing the deities. We read that. And where does that creativity come from? Where is it? It's not coming from anything material. So just in the purport of that last one, if one cherishes pure loving devotion to me, thinking of me as his son, his friend, or his beloved, regarding himself as great and considering me as his equal or inferior, I become subordinate to him. That's such a hard concept to get. He says, pure, in the end of the purport, Prabhupada says, pure love for Krishna is the perfection of pure devotion, and pure devotional service is identical with spontaneous devotional service. Flawless execution of regulated principles is exhibited in Vaikuntha. By strictly executing principles, one is elevated to Vaikuntha, but spontaneous loving service is found in Krishna Loka alone. So even though we're following sadhana because Krishna, Lord Chaitanya's desire is to propagate spontaneous devotional service, pure loving devotional service. So this is a pure devotion. This is his desire. This was Lord Chaitanya's desire, and this is Prabhupada's desire to do this. And that's how we're able to relish Krishna, God, teasing. It's coming up with. No one else can even understand that because we're just, we're on an elevator, the express elevator. There's different kinds of elevators, and we're going through all the different stages of yoga. We're going by, those are the stairs. You can take the yoga ladder. So if you could take the ladder up to 100 floors, you want to take a ladder up to 100 floors, or you want to take an elevator. So there's the yoga ladder, there's different steps. We're on the elevator. So many things are going to be going by so quickly. We really have to pray so hard when we chant Hare Krishna and understand how these 10 offenses get eliminated. They get eliminated by practice, overcoming them, pulling out your attachments. When things don't go right, as they are destined to do, we take shelter, that 10:14 etate nukampam. We're offering obeisances, and in those obeisances are respect for these teachings enough that these material attachments, they get silhouetted against knowledge. Darkness, you can't see darkness. It's dark. The only way you can see darkness is if you put a light behind it, then you can see the shape of it. So that the shape of our attachments will become manifest in the troubles that we're experiencing here in this world. And then we have to practically figure out, it's called ingenuity, and it's individual application of how to do this. And just like we read, I think Mukti was reading it, that this, what was it? We're just reading, is that you have to think the best things for your enemies, which also goes along with other religions. But how to do that, and how to see that this person is giving me the chance to practice tolerance, forgiveness, humility, all those things that are listed as knowledge. So Krishna picked this person to teach me this lesson. So instead of hating this person, or envy, or mad, or condemning, or cursing, we think, Krishna's mercy, somehow or other, they picked such a nice person to cause me all this grief. Anyway, you have to apply the knowledge. So, I'm sorry I went over time. I lost track of the time. We have any questions or comments? Oh, we got one on the. Thank you. But there's other people listening.
We can think as adults, if things happen to us right now, like somebody does something like to us, it's like you're saying, we can think, oh, this person is trying to help me develop tolerance. But
He's not thinking of helping you. A lot of times the other person's not thinking of helping you.
I'm saying we can think that this person is trying, But Krishna has put this person in my life to help me practice. But what in case of like when things happen to children? We can see like for adults who went through abuse when they were children, it's very hard for them to forget these things. Seems like it's very traumatic and it's very hard to heal from those events.
Well, we always hope that nothing like that happens, but Prabhupada would use the term, make the best use of a bad bargain. So you're paying a high price. So why not get the best out of it? In other words, it's horrible. Anytime something bad happens, it's not that we're insensitive and we just say that was your karma, too bad for you. No, devotees like Arjuna, it mentioned in the first chapter, they're soft-hearted, they're compassionate. We say it's horrible, it's terrible. You do whatever you can do externally. But at the same time, since you've paid so much for this, why not utilize it? How can I utilize this in Krishna consciousness? Can I get anything good out of this? It's just a practical intelligence thing. So, of course, nobody wants these things to happen, except maybe Queen Kunti. But besides that, here we are. So the only thing we can do is see it'll take me away or it can bring me in. But it requires such a high degree of humility to be able to do that. And I have a way to do that. I called it empathic theology, that nothing happens by chance. In other words, there is the technical procedure that came before this that set it up. No one's really innocent. They're children, so you think, well, innocence of a child, but we understand ultimately that this isn't our first life. There's other things, but you can't tell somebody directly that. They have to understand it themselves, and that's where the humility, trinadapi sanechena, that's not an easy thing to do. That's a very advanced stage, even though it's just the third verse, but one feels himself lowered in the straw on the street. And I kind of bring this point up often. Krishna is very nice. We know that. And if there's some problem. He says he doesn't envy anyone. It's not arbitrarily taking place. And if the punishment fits the crime, I may have done something. So Prabhupada explains a couple places that one can see the past and the future by just seeing the present. You become a tricholic. Yeah, if someone is rich, you see, well, they perform pious activities in the past. And if they're spending it nicely, then they go one place. If they're being, if they're using it as a cause of fall down, then they're going another place. So we have the basic principles of tricholic. And then it gets refined as everything else gets refined. But it's very difficult, especially for others, so until there isn't any easy answer for that one. A lot of times in my own experiences with persons and those type of things, it's just commiserating, hugging and crying together, because it's so hard for what we have to learn. But we're in a cycle of birth and death. That's serious business. We're all lined up for the death row. We're on death row until you get it right. Not just once, but over and over again. So individually, we have to consider, I must be doing something serious if I'm going to get killed for this. Just like we're saying, every material desire comes with a material body, which we know has a birth and a death. So there's something fundamentally wrong with this thinking, and nobody, Krishna doesn't directly tell you. He hints at it because it has to do with love. So what's the harshest thing in a loving relationship? What is the worst possible thing that can happen in a loving relationship? They call it maybe betrayal of love. I gave you everything. I shared everything with you. I've opened my heart. I've done everything. And then you've taken it and used it against me. You've stolen everything from me. So Isha Vaishya Damsavam. Everything belongs to Krishna. But we've consciously turned to take everything we can. The more the better. Greed, material greed, 3 gates leading to hell. So is it just because, if you're soft-hearted, you can think, well, I'm dissatisfied because I can't be satisfied. So my lust isn't satisfied. So I'm becoming more and more lusty to have more and more things. So because I'm not getting satisfied and I want more and more of it, it's greed. It just has a natural progression. I didn't get satisfied, I tried, so I'm trying harder and harder. First you don't succeed, get greedy and try again, over and over and over again. So now what happens when your greed and your lust isn't satisfied? You get angry. So there's a natural progression that happens. But at the same time, who are you greedy to take? You're a thief. You're stealing more and more. Somebody goes and robs something one time. Is that it? He got away with it. So now that he got away with it, do you think he's going to do it again? And again, and again, and again. They never stop. In fact, they get better at it until they're caught. So they have to get these really expert police people to catch them. Because once you start becoming a thief. So we're in that condition. The first thing in this material world is I and mine. It's for me, and I'm going to possess it. In relationships, isn't it? I possess this person. You don't possess. Anyway, that's another thing. I don't know if that's helpful or not. But did you have a question too?
Yes, Prabhu. You kind of almost answered the question with the explanation. But yet in the real world, when you're playing a role, it's a different thing when you're sitting in a Bhagavatam class or you're reading one of the books and you're trying to implement those qualities or practice those qualities in your own life. But when you're out in the material world and you're dealing with people, or sometimes even with the devotees, for example, a management situation, where you may have to put somebody in place because you think that some things have to be done in a particular way, or somebody is just stepping on your toes too much and prohibiting you from proceeding further in your service.
Well, sometimes it was explained to me that act like everything depends on you, but know that nothing depends on you, everything depends on Krishna. So you still act a particular way, but you have to, Bhagavatam class is something like the classroom in a chemistry class. Have you ever taken any chemistry in school? Things like that. They have two parts of the class. One's called the classroom and the other's called the lab. So what do you do in the lab? You see if what you learned in the classroom works. It may explode or different things, but you try to get it right. So we have the classroom is the Bhagavatam, and then you have to apply it. You have to go to the lab, and a lot of your grade is on the lab. It's not just that you theoretically understood it, but you have to apply it. So as you try to apply it, then you pray more. You have more of your internal life is developing. Devotees have an internal life where they talk to Krishna, they pray to Krishna, they remember different things. They're not just external. You have your external life, but you also have your internal life. So that we take shelter more and more of that. And ultimately it develops to the point that your external life is not as essential, or not as overwhelming. That's the verse 3:25:18. It says that it acts less powerfully upon you.
But usually, like in a lab also, when you're doing the test sometimes turns out to be negative, not always positive.
You didn't pass?
So it doesn't kind of always, you cannot judge it. You don't know how to what extent to judge your actions in that sense, because it doesn't always bring about positive results. So in that case, then it becomes, when you're really trying to make it work or trying to understand, it's a battle between understanding whether it was your own ego or whether it's the opposite person's ego that's actually inhibiting it and bringing about the negative results. So at that point it gets complicated as to what stand you should take. Though you want to be humble, yet you don't know to what extent to let it pass or whether to take a stand to correct it.
I call that the intrigue. You never get all the answers. You never get all the parts of the puzzle. There's always a couple left out to draw you out, because you say, well, just tell me, give me all the answers. No, I'm going to give you some of them, and then you have to show your work, like in math. You have to show your work. So they leave a couple of the pieces. I've just noticed nobody has that given to them the whole show. They always do it. See how Krishna did it with Draupadi? He's playful, but he leaves out the different. You can't get mad. Well, you can get a little mad at him, but you can't get real mad at him. You just have to, because there's the intrigue. You've ever had a mystery book, and if somebody comes up to you and said, the butler did it, you say, don't tell me. That's the excitement of the book. So in life, there's an intrigue, there's an excitement, and even though it's like a thriller, where you're like at the edge of your seat, what's going to happen next, you have to go through it. Life is spicy. He spices it up. So you won't ever get anyone to give you all the answers, because even if they do, you're only going to remember certain ones at that time anyway. So it's a process.
Because even the humility of Arjuna, with all that humility, he had to still fight.
Yeah,
but what to talk about Bhima, who actually killed Dushasana and drank the blood. Now, that is really gruesome to even think about, if you go to see, from all perspective. And on one hand, you see them as great Vaishnavas and devotees, dedicated their whole battle based on the instructions of Krishna. So that's what...
For myself, I take each individual as unique. And you can't put one person next to another person and say, well, this person did it like that, this person did it like that. And then there's a type of empathy. In Krishna consciousness Sanskrit, it's called paradukkha dukhi. And it's a highly, paradukkha dukhi is ready to offer all respects to others that Chanada peace in each, that same verse, that each individual is very special. They're part and parcel of Krishna. So in that same verse it says, ready to offer all respects. So this paradukkha dukhi means like 1329, one has to see the super soul or he'll degrade himself by his mind. So that until we get to that stage, we may still have those problems. You can't get rid of the effect unless the cause is gone. You know, so we're learning how to come to that, and then each element. Sometimes, if there were a control panel, maybe a little bit more humility, a little bit, but not artificial. See, nothing artificial is going to hold up against reality. It has to. And we've been a little trained in the academic world to be superficial. We don't know how to connect it internally. That's why the introspection is required to connect it up. And in the beginning, it's a little painful because sense these desires, that's what I'm not supposed to have, but that's what I want. Oh, but the warning is that's the body. Oh, and the one who's telling me, oh, that's the mind. So when you start to apply the knowledge, then you get to see, oh, that's what they're talking about with the mind. But this other way that I'm looking at it now, that's my intelligence looking at the mind. So we have all these big words that we use: mind, intelligence, false ego, super soul, and they're all inside, right? Krishna's not, he's inside. And the intelligence inside, the mind. So how are we going to recognize which is which? That takes some special kind of meditating, thinking. You know, there's things that we have to go through, and we can't artificially bypass those. And we're seeing that over the years. We were thinking it would all happen automatically. Just take the pill and I'm better, you know. But we actually there's conscientious changes. I think we did it too long. Thank you. All glories to Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.